Hey guys, Wildstyle here from Graffiti Bombing. So I've been working like crazy for the last 2 months trying to get the game to the next stage, which has been creative mode. And this last week, you would not believe how many game builds I've created before I actually tried to get this video done. It's been insane. But anyway, so today I'm going to give you a demo of the game, show you some progress, show you what I've been working on, show you some improvements, some polish, and show you the beginning of creative mode, which I'm quite happy with how it's shaping up. So there's going to be 3 game modes: the player home, which is where you start, it's the starting hub. Then there's the open world, and then there's going to be creative sessions. So we're kind of getting closer to my vision now of, I guess it's looking more like a product now, I suppose. But anyway, let's jump in and I can show you. So we've got some new logos on the startup screen. There's an all city variation on the logo screen now as well. The setup is pretty much the same as it was previously. So I'll just skip through this, selecting high settings, calibrate my height, and then I will select the comfort rig. So just briefly, there's a physics rig, which is kind of like Half-Life Alyx, bonework style, realistic. And then there's a comfort rig. So if you get sickness, you're going to want the comfort rig. And also if you play a lot of creative sessions, you're going to want probably the comfort rig as well. But more about that later. So let's jump in. Yep, there's a new loading screen now. So when you go into the game world or you go into a creative session, or even if you go back to the player home, you get a customized loading screen with tips, game tips and stuff. It's kind of cool. Okay, so this is the player home. Some of you that have been on the open beta will be familiar. And so it's the starting point for the game. It's the hub, if you like, for the game. You have a jukebox, which I will stop. So there's some default tracks on the jukebox now. Jukebox starts playing automatically when you come into the game. You can change that behavior along with a bunch of other settings on the TV menu. Remote control for the TV menu is on the table. If you throw it away or drop it somewhere, it will come back on the table. So anyway, game release log. This is new. So now when I release a new game build, I update the version and I put the release log in, so that now appears on the TV, so you can see all the good stuff that's been added, updated, fixed, etc., for the current build. As you can see, there's a lot of stuff that I've been working on. So I've been working on the game for the last 2 months solid, trying to get these creative sessions off the ground, which is what I'm going to show you guys today. But before I do that, I just want to take you back out into open world briefly, just to give you some context on a few things. Let me just do something here. So over here, you see that I'm in the player home, right? In the player home, that's a practice board over there. This big pillar in the middle you can paint as well. I'm probably going to add some more paintable stuff in here later, so you can kind of customize your home a little bit. So I've got this concept of instances. So an instance is basically a save. So for people that don't know, or people that haven't played the beta, an instance is like a save. So you can have home instances, which is in here. You can have world instances, which is the open world part I'm going to show you a little bit about in a minute. So it's basically just a save, but I call it an instance. So I've just deleted that one. So now it's gone back to the other one. This is the default. You can't delete the default one. You can only reset it. So I've now reset it. That means all the canvas in here is now clean. So if you do some graffiti in the home and you want to, keep that but want to do some more, you just add a new instance. And that gives you another save for the player home. And it's the same with the world instances. You can go out, you can graffiti around, and then when you come back, you can create another instance, another save for later. Obviously that takes up space, but it's pretty flexible. So something to show you here on the player belt. I've now modified this, so if you rotate your head to the right, the belt rotates the opposite direction. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. So that means you can get to all the slots. You can look on the outside, you can get to the slots. So it makes it much easier to use than it was before. But yeah, as you see, sometimes it gets a little bit skew with, so I've got to figure that out still. Okay, I've got a couple of paints. Let's go out. So going out into open world, some of you no doubt have seen this before. Literally just go out the door and you go out into the open world start area. So I'm not going to take you through all of it, but I'm going to definitely take you outside real quick just to show you a couple of things which are relevant to give you some context for the creative sessions. So player home's down that way. We're now coming through the sewers part. There's another sewers part through here, which I might extend and open up later. We then go into the underground tunnels here, which go under the train yard. And actually, if you go left here, if you go that way, you can go all the way around to the warehouse, or you can jump into this lift here, and we can go straight up into the train yard, which is what we're going to do now. So the lift stops halfway up and loads a bunch of stuff, and then it carries on, like so. So the open world start area, which is what we're going up into now, it's kind of 95% complete for now. But I still need to do some more tuning and improving on it before I release it, before it gets released to the beta group, but everything's working. I've got some new birds. You like my new birds? They're pretty good, actually. New birds, new insects, and all that kind of good stuff to make it a little bit more realistic. So this is the train yard. So why I brought you up here really quickly to show you is that the train yard, it's loading, so I've got a little bit of lag there. So basically the train yard area, this is the start hub area for the game, for the open world part of the game. And so this will be included in the free-to-play version of Graffiti Bombing. You'll be able to play this whole start area for free. And within this start area, there's like 11 different areas where you can paint. In Graffiti Bombing, I call it an area where you can paint. I call it a paint zone. So if I open up the Actions Assistant, the Actions Assistant is this tablet that you have. If I open up the Actions Assistant and I click on this map pin, it will show me paint zones which are near to me here. So you can see there's one on the train over there, there's one on the warehouse, and there's one on that that box over there. So there's like 11 different paint zones in this area. So there's quite a lot of areas where you can paint, and some of the areas are really big. It's like this wall here is huge, right? You can paint all the way along this wall here, all the way along here. I mean, that's a lot of graffiti you can do on that. So get busy, guys. But yeah, so why am I showing you this? I'm showing you this just to give you some context, because what I've done for creative sessions is I'm basically chopping up this start area into separate maps. So at the moment, I've built all the foundation for the creative system for how it works, and I'll show you a bit more about that in a moment. But then at the moment, I've got 2 creative maps that are up and running right now. One of those maps is where we are here, the train yard wall. So that's an outside map. And the other map I've got working is the warehouse interior, which is down here. Yeah, if you go in this door here, that will take you to the warehouse interior. So at the moment, I've got these 2 creative maps working already. And there's like another 8 or 9 maps which are going to come over the next month, I suppose. And those other maps are going to be just these different paint areas taken into a separate, into a single creative session map, which you can't leave. And I'll show you that in a minute. So that being said, if I open up the Actions Assistant, a couple of other things you might have noticed on here that are new. There's a quick cap selection changer here now, so this is quite nice. And there's also a button up here now. This Graffiti Bombing logo button takes you back to the player home, so you can fast travel from anywhere in the game world or from within a creative session back to the player home. And as you see now, we're going back to the player home. It tells us where we're going, game tips on the bottom, and you have a nice picture. It takes a random screenshot, gives you a random screenshot of the location you're going to as well. So yeah, quite happy with how that's all shaping up. Here we are back in the player home again. What else can I show you here before I show you creative sessions, just to keep you on the edge? Do you know what I mean? So if you're a DLC player, you get this card, and you also get some key codes. What does that get you into? Well, that gets you into areas like this, secure areas. So if you've got the key code, you can come in here and you can open the door and you can go in. And so there's equipment which is DLC only, like there's other paint types. These are paint types like Slick Rick, and the other paint types are DLC only. The handheld video recorder, which records MP4s, is handheld only. The torch has 3 different modes. I'll show you that another time. And also climbables. You need the torch so you can shrink and unshrink climbables and put them in your backpack. That's where the torch comes in very handy, because it's got 3 different modes on it. But anyway, I digress. So if you get the DLC, you get access to some features which are not available otherwise. You're also going to get access to new areas as they get opened up, and also creative maps. There'll be DLC only creative maps and other good stuff too coming in the future. Okay, so creative mode. Creative mode is accessed from the TV menu in the player home, just the same. So once we come in here, this is the so I call it a creative session. Actually, it's a creative session. So if you want to go into a creative session, you come in here to the TV menu. You can create a new session, which is on this screen, and so it gives you like a map overview. At the minute, like you can see here, there's 1 of 9 maps, but only 2 are released. So you see this little released label in green. If I go to the next map, so this is the first map, sorry, before I jump on, the warehouse interior. If I go to the next map, which is released, you'll see it's the train yard wall. And then if I carry on, you'll see upcoming, these are the other maps that are coming later. So the old trailer, the freight car, train car, the old ruined building, which is a good little area actually. The train tunnel entrance, you can paint in either side there. The road billboard, yeah, you have to climb up to that one on the billboard. And then the warehouse exterior, and then the underpass of the road tunnel. So that's like 9, and I think there might be another 1 that I've missed out. So there's going to be like 10 creative maps included in the free-to-play version, which I think for a free game is pretty decent. So for a free game, you get the player home start area, you get the open world, leaving the player home, going into open world in the start area I just showed you, and then you get these creative maps, which are basically all, you know, repurposed from that same start area into single creative session maps. So personally, I think that's pretty decent for a free-to-play game. And then everything else after that is going to be DLC only, so that then I can hopefully make some money. Do you know what I mean? So anyway, here we are, new session, new creative session. For now, let me take you to the train yard wall where we were just now, and I can show you some differences, I suppose. So what you can do on a map is you see, obviously you get an image of the map, you get, you know, a description, and then you get map details. So where is it? It's in the train yard. What type of map is it? It's a single player for now. I mean, there's going to be multiplayer later. The author, that's me, of course, but in the future we might have other people making maps. More on that later. It tells you the size of the area, just to give you a sense of how big the map is, performance requirements, and when it was launched. So that's kind of map details. All of this is a work in progress, so some of this might change in the future. And then you can set the time of day and the weather, which is kind of cool. So for now, I'll leave it on the default. So the default for this map is midday, and the default weather is clear, but you can change the weather and you can change the time of day. I'll show you that in a moment. So once you're ready to go into a session, click on Start Session. You then get this modal kind of screen where it basically gives you a quick review of the map you've picked, and the settings that you've got applied for time of day and weather, and then also equipment loadouts. So for now, there's only a default loadout, which basically means that I'm automatically packing your equipment into your backpack and putting it on your back for you automatically when you go into the creative session. Now in the future, there's probably going to be custom loadouts where you can have your own custom loadouts and maybe some custom presets that you can pick from, so you can have your own loadout variations. But for this first version, I've just got a default loadout, and I'll show you more about that in a moment. Once you're ready to jump in, start the session. Then that will take us back to the loading screen. And as you can see, we're now going into the train yard, so it tells us where we're going. All right, so here we are back in the train yard wall area. So when you first arrive in a creative session, if you've not painted here already, the paintable area will flash blue to highlight blue to show you where you can paint. If you'd already loaded in like some saved graffiti, it wouldn't do that. But if you're in a new session, maybe you've not been to the map before, it shows you where you can paint for easy. Something else to show you is this new game info panel that I've added, which will kind of follow me around if I move around here. Yep, there we go. So game info panels give you information that might be useful for the game, like tips. For example, this one saying, hey, don't forget your backpack inventory. It has all the paint tools and supplies you will need to get up. It's on your back. And you can snooze it, which means it will come back again in the future, like if you went to another level that had the same kind of tooltip. Or you can dismiss it, in which case you won't see it again. Okay, so I was talking about equipment loadouts just now. So as we just saw on that message, our backpack is on our back. And if I use a long press on the touchpad, I'm on the HTZ Vive today, that will lock my backpack in place. And then I've got all my paint supplies in there. I've got the Ghetto Blaster on the side. I've got a piece of wood on that side. I've got a ladder underneath. Now this is the DLC loadout, so there's more equipment. There's 4 different paint types in the game, which we've got all of those in here. There's 4 different paint types. The FT Action 71 multi-purpose is available in the free-to-play. The other paint types are only available in the DLC, like the Slick Rick gloss. The Spit buff, which basically extreme clean, it buffs off the paint, that's available in the DLC too. Sorry, DLC and the free-to-play version. So yeah, once you arrive at the location, you can start painting. So I'll just put a tag up for easy. All right. So you can paint. If you want to save, you can come into your Actions Assistant. You can press Save here. It will save the session. Something else to show you on the Actions Assistant, which is new. I've added a new paint cap switcher here. I think I might have showed you that already, but anyway, that's pretty cool. So, different caps have different effects. So depending on the environment you're in, and depending where the sun is, or the light, because you can play different times of day, you can play different times of different types of weather, that will have a direct effect on the paint system, because obviously the paint's going to look different depending on the weather and depending on the direction of the light. So if you're painting on a wall that's got direct light on it, it's going to look a bit different, and also depending on the paint type that you're using as well. So anyway, so that's a creative session. Something else to note you on the map. we're in the same area that I showed you earlier, except we now can't leave the area. It's blocked off. So that's because it's a creative session. It's a self-contained single session map. So you're not supposed to leave the area. You can't leave the area. So if you try and leave the area, you won't be able to. So there's kind of new blocks in here. Plus the way that I do the vegetation in the creative session is less dynamic and more static vegetation for better performance, as well as a bunch of other stuff to improve the performance, such as I'm not loading all the areas around. I just load the area you're within as much as possible to give you that feeling of immersion, like you're at that location, but without loading all the overheads as well. Oh, there's the autosave just kicked in. So the game auto saves every 5 minutes to begin with. You can change that setting on the TV menu in the player home as well. So once your creative session is done, you can go back home. You just open up your tablet and say go home. If you haven't saved your session, it will save it on the way out. Once you click go home, if you've got unsaved edits on the paint, it will save it on the way out. So that's pretty much how a creative session works. That was a new session. If I go back to the TV menu and now I go back to load session, you'll see today's the 26th. So yeah, that's the session we were just playing. And yeah, and it's 12:50 a.m. here now, so it's getting late. Something else to show you here is each map has its own default image, but you can change that. So if you click on that, it will open up an image picker. Now these images are loading, I've got a load of rubbish in here, but these images are loading up from the camera roll. So if you take a picture on the actions assistant from the camera, if you take a picture on here, it will show up. It will show up on your camera roll here. And then when you come into the TV here, you'll see that image as well. So you can select images from your camera roll for a level, so you can have your own custom image on the save. So that's useful, obviously, if you've done a piece of graffiti there and you want to remember what it is and you've got lots of saves, you can put your own custom image. So the one we were playing just now is the 26th. So if I go back and load that, you get a confirm and load. If you load a session, it's the same. It will give you the default loadout for now. And it will take you back to the same session with the same weather and the same time of day that you set. It will take you back to the same place, you know, set up in the same way. And there's the graffiti that we did just now, which is pretty garbage, but it was just a quick demo. But the tag's okay. So yeah, that's how you load back into a session. So let's go back to the player home again. You might have noticed the game tips on the bottom of the load screen as well. I think I've got like 30 game tips at the moment. I'll keep adding them. They're actually quite useful, particularly for people that don't like to read documentation, which is quite a lot of people actually. It will give you some tips on the game, which can be helpful. So something else to show you. Let's go back into another session, same place. So we'll go back to the train yard wall, new session, but let's go there at night time, and let's go there in the rain. The loading screen doesn't show you time of day and weather at the moment. In the future, I might make some variations that actually do show that as well. All right, so here we are back in the train yard wall. It's night time, and yep, it's raining. It's definitely raining. So you'll notice that when it is raining, everything gets wet. So you'll notice now that everything is getting wet. So probably not the best idea for painting in the rain, but hey, you can if you want to. And Something else I can show you on the Actions Assistant, in the settings there's also time of day settings. So if I want to change the weather back to clear, I can click on that and the weather's going to clear up. You'll see the clouds and the weather will clear up slowly. All right, so that's the rain. Once the rain stops, the things that were wet will dry out again. After a couple of minutes, everything will dry up again. And so there we are. That's kind of how time of day and works. You can also change the time of day on here. So if I want to go to midday, I can click on here. And you'll notice the sky is going to animate around because I'm kind of fast forwarding time. And that brings us back to midday. There we go. So basically you can have your own weather. You can have your own, if you want to paint at night, you can paint at night for you know, to make it feel a bit more realistic. So yeah, it's kind of cool. And the other map, which I'll show you really quickly, which is up and running at the moment, is the warehouse interior. So I think I've got to save. I'll just go to that save for easy. So again, we're on our way to the warehouse interior. I can hear a couple of sounds there, which you shouldn't actually hear. I'll fix that. So we're on our way to the warehouse interior. It gives you a nice shot of the warehouse interior. So the warehouse interior uses baked lighting, so performance should be really good in here. And it's not, you don't have to load a lot to be in here because it's well optimized, and obviously you're not seeing lots of nature and outside areas. So it's a smaller contained area, so performance should be great. You can't leave this area the same. If you come to the door and you try and go out, it won't let you. The door is locked. Likewise, if you come in the lift and you try and go back down, oops, you try and go down in the lift, it won't let you. So, you know, it's a creative session. You're stuck here for the duration until you've done some awesome graffiti, and then you can go home. So that's how it works. And that's it. So in here, you can paint on that side. All that side's paintable, and all that side's paintable. So there's plenty of room in here to get up. All right, so we've got 2 maps at the moment for creative sessions, more on the way, like another 7 or 8 on the way, and then that will be all of the maps for the free to play. So there's plenty of places you can do graph. You can graffiti in the player home, you can go out in open world, and now you can graffiti in creative sessions. So I think that's all I'm going to show you for now. There's so much other stuff that I've actually fixed and improved, too much to list. But if you're interested in that, you can see the release notes on the Player Home TV. If the release notes have already shown, you can open them up again by clicking on the version number here. That will show you the release notes here. So let me just give you a few highlights. Creative sessions, yeah, we talked about that. In-game messages, yeah, new system for that I showed you. Custom load screen, yeah. A bunch of stuff for interactables for resetting and loadouts and all that kind of stuff. Some improvements to the Actions Assistant, yep. Improvements to the player waist for rotating, which I showed you. Improvements to the player calibration system. TV menu improvements, I increased the font sizes and made it a little bit more usable. Improvements with the backpack and a bunch of other stuff. Oh yeah, and I fixed the paint roller bug, which somebody else reported recently. I also upgraded Unity to a new version, to the latest version. So there's a load of stuff in this build. I'm hoping you guys are going to enjoy the first taste of creative sessions, and I look forward to sharing more details with you and more maps in the coming weeks. So what's next? Well, now we've got creative sessions up and running, more maps, as I just mentioned, and then the GraphCam direct-to-camera system, which basically when you're painting, you can activate the GraphCam and it will record you when you're painting, and then you can play back later, add cameras, and then export your graffiti capture review as an MP4 and share it. So that's another feature that's coming soon. I'm kind of 50% through that feature. So the goal for me at the moment, just to be clear with you guys, the goal for me and the goal for the game in terms of getting it relaunched is add more creative maps free to play, finish the graph cam, fix any bugs and final improvements, and then update the marketing and get back on Steam. So I want to get back on Steam in early access. I'm going to get back, not that I want to, I'm going to get back on Steam by November, which is next month. I think we're nearly ready. There's still a few bugs and a few little bits that need tuning here and there, but hopefully you guys can see that it's coming together into a bit more of a product. Anyway, enough for now. Excited, guys, excited. It's been a lot of work, but I feel like it's coming together. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoy it. So I'm going to share this build with the beta group. If you're not in the beta group, you can join the Graffiti Bombing Discord, and there's a free sign up to join the open beta group. So yeah, get yourself in there and we'll get you in the game and you can try it out and have some fun. All right, see you guys.